Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Yeah, you know what it is. Hard worker, scrappy, unfiltered, and sometimes unhinged football content. Hard to explain, but you know it when you see it. Doing it daily our way. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Redraft and Dynasty Fantasy Football, we got you covered. You know their defense is ranked like 31st in the NFL? NFL draft prospects and rookies? Now you know you in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then stop saying it. Then we're done. And prop bets with my man JRich.
Count that money, man.
Now wipe the crust out of your eyes, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake your ass up with Ray G. You honestly are making absolutely no sense and you sound silly as hell. GMGP. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. It is Monday, August 28, 2023. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with Ray G. Y'all know y'all boy appreciate that. We are like 10 days away from the NFL season kicking off. I can't wait, JRich. I can't wait, baby. I can't wait. And I appreciate everybody that's in the building right now. Fredo in the building. Joe in here popping early, talking her stuff. I don't know what Joe talking about. Good morning to you, Joe. Shane in the building. What's happening with you, Job Webb? We got my man Dynasty Barry in the building. Patrick Price. Hunter Joe Green, as always. Cold World TDE, what's going down with you, baby? Who else we got? Let's scroll to the bottom. Let's see who jumped in here. John in the building. Andrew, Mike the Mike, Garrison, Jackie Moon. Got a good people. What's up, Joe? She said, hey, Jay. She said, hey, Ray, not hey, Jay. She said, hey, Ray, not Jay. But I'm glad y'all are in the building. Jay, turn the music down, man. Turn the music down. Want to let everybody know we appreciate y'all being in the building with us. And football season is here. Like, we're done with the preseason. NFL season. Jay and I were arguing before the show. Is it technically 10 or 11 days into the season? I think it's 11 days until Thursday, so 10 more days without football. But excited, happy y'all are in the building. We got a dope show lined up for y'all today. Got a lot to talk about. Not really going to do a ton of preseason wrap-up takeaways. A lot of the starters didn't play. We got some big player movements, some things that happened, some guys that are back, some guys that are in some new spots. Underdog fantasy. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. JRich, got to bring you in the building. How you doing this morning, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm glad that we're taking some time to digest the preseason, and we can get into that next week. But we did see some players play, so I was happy to see that. But yeah, definitely a little bit underwhelming, I think, this whole preseason. I feel like I'm getting old because my dad's, I don't know about people, my dad's like, heck the preseason. Tell me when the regular season starts. Don't care about it. But for us, we are into the micro movement of the NFL, the players, how they're trending. So we want to watch these guys play, but it really hasn't delivered. And I don't know if it's a me thing or it's just I'm watching less and less every year, but it seems like less and less players are playing. And I can't blame anybody but Sean McVay. Everyone from that Sean McVay coaching tree does not play anybody in the preseason, and his coaching tree only gets deeper and deeper and deeper every year, and we see less and less guys play. Like Bijan Robinson playing one game in the preseason, ALOT skipping a preseason game.
I know.
What are we doing?
I know.
What are we doing, man? It breaks my heart. Breaks my heart.
I think a lot of people thought that with the changes to the preseason schedule, dropping it down from 4 to 3 games, you might get like a game where the starters play, but what you're seeing more than not, I mean, Dallas didn't play anybody. No Tony Pollard, no Dak Prescott at all. I think it's interesting which teams actually play their starters, which teams don't. But, yeah, man, I thought it was fine. It was good to see some of the rookies get out there and play, get kind of an idea of what they're going to do this season. And then some veterans, right? It's provide some dips in value, maybe some value spikes for you to get out of some players. So there's still a lot that happened within preseason. But, yeah, man, we're a couple of days away from the NFL season. I can't wait for that. Jay, what we got content-wise that dropped that people need to know about this morning, man?
The biggest thing for everybody out there, if you are watching this channel, if you're listening after the fact, go and check out Scott Connor's pod from this morning on DD Radio. Every running back on a 53, and we have cut down day tomorrow. So a lot of players going to make cut, a lot of player movement. So Scott went through all the running backs, talking about which ones you want to know, which ones you want to have on your rosters. And then as well, we will talk about this going throughout the week in the Patreon. So if you do want to sign up, it's a great time to sign up for the NFL season. Patreon.com/allgas. But check out Scott's pod because he goes through all the running backs, tells you which ones you want to own, which ones he says you can wait on and see what happens. But there will be a lot of movement. And for us, it's really just the running backs. Don't worry about the receivers. There's going to be a lot of movement on all fronts, but it's the running backs. These are the guys we want in our lineups and on our rosters heading into the season.
John said he already listened. John said I already listened to that shit.
Drops early for the people, man.
I already listened to it, man. I listened to Scott's pod at like 2 a.m. and I'm up for wake up. Appreciate y'all tapping into that. Scott and I did do Destination Chill last night. Talked about everybody's favorite. Jay, you know what everybody loves to do to fantasy analysts? It tells how wrong we are. So we did the Eminem from 8 Mile. We just got ahead of it, right? We talked about all the areas where we could go wrong this fantasy football season. Talked about my conviction on Rich. Scott talked about his fading of the tight ends. So go back, check out that show. We streamed it last night. And then we got a lot of dope content creators. A brand new Devy show dropped on Destination Devy Radio. Shout out to Derek and Gump. So brand new Devy show dropping on DD Radio. You need that because the college football season is back, Jay. And what better person to talk about today than the #1 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, Sir Caleb Eugene Williams, man. Caleb Williams, Zachariah Branch, USC Trojans didn't play very well in my opinion, but they put up over 50 points, beat San Jose State. Jay, did you get to watch any Caleb Williams, and did you see the player that everybody's buzzing about, Zachariah Branch?
I did, yeah. It's funny. So you mentioned Gump's pod, right? And he actually talked about Zachariah Branch. So I was waiting to see how much would he play, what would happen with him, because I knew he was super fast, right? There's reports he hit 25 miles per hour on the GPS tracker. And you see it right away, whether it's a rush, whether it's a reception, his kick return touchdown, his punt returns. That was phenomenal. Like, the kid is just dynamic. You see, I heard a lot of comps of Tavon Austin, you know, early in his college career, and just the dynamism that he brings to the table. But phenomenal. Then, you know, you get into Caleb. I mean, USC's defense in the first half didn't play so well, but after that, they really locked in, played well. You know, Caleb hit all of his under props for us too, right?
Yeah, he did cash the under. Speaking of, hey, if you want to get into prop, listen, our Dub Club is popping. Link is in the description. It's free for like 3 more days. Get in there. Jay, I had a monster night. 43 unit night. Insane night.
Ridiculous.
Join the Dub Club. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Caleb Williams, #1 pick. Is going to be awesome. We did a mock draft show last week. Check that out. But Jay, we got to get into the players that are rising, falling. Some interesting names on this Underdog list. You fantasy football people, there's some interesting names out there on this Underdog risers and fallers list. So let's get into it right now.
From the biggest and brightest stars to the last round pick, we have you covered for everything on Underdog Fantasy. Let's get into it and let's get that money, baby.
Go ahead, Jay. You got it.
All right, Ray. So the biggest riser, to no one's really surprise, is in fact Marvin Mims. And this really even stems back prior to Jerry Jeudy getting hurt, which only happened a few days ago. So on top of Marvin Mims rising all week long and playing pretty well in the preseason game, he had 2 receptions for 51 yards. We saw the long catch that he made and actually evaded the pass interference. Kind of reminded me, Ray, a little bit of Brandon Cooks. But now we have a Jerry Jeudy hamstring injury, and he's supposed to miss several weeks. What does that mean? We're going to find out, but Jerry Jeudy will be out for a while, and one of the most crowded wide receiver rooms in the NFL, at least we thought, come July when they drafted Marvin Mims, is now looking wide open. And Ray, I do have one question for you because I was looking this up last night, and it got me to thinking. Marvin Mims is a great deep ball receiver. I think if you want to operate Cortland Sutton in the intermediate area, it'd be pretty interesting. How would you feel about Marvin Mims to lead all rookies in receiving yards at 22-1? So, you know, you have Addison as the favorite, QJ is second, JSN I think is 4th or 5th because of his injury. But I'm like, if Marvin Mims is wide receiver 2 out the gate, mostly the deep threat, and then on top of that, he's going to be getting deep balls from Russ. We'll see what the offense looks like. But in my opinion, he really has a shot at this, and if you have him right now, like,
you think so? I mean, I like the
he's wide receiver 2. That's what I'm saying. At the odds, right? At the odds,
he's 2 for now. But Judy's not out for the season. He doesn't have a high ankle sprain. He's not dealing with the torn meniscus. He doesn't have an ACL.
Hamstring though.
Dude,
so
Judy's
if he misses
Judy's
6
a whole other
weeks,
story.
right?
That's a whole different story. I mean.
It's interesting. So for me, he's locked in as wide receiver 2 to start the year, which is great. And then he can continue to progress in the offense throughout the season and hopefully only get better. Even with the return of Jeudy, he can still have a role on the team. But also, Ray, Jaylen Warren flying up draft boards. I mean, I don't know where the hype train is going to stop for this guy. Obviously, ripped off a massive run last week. That was his rise throughout the week. But then this weekend, also scored a rushing touchdown again. So you look at what this guy's done and put on tape. You put out the film session. You're excited for him. We all hate Matt Canada, but the Steelers are looking pretty good, and Jaylen Warren's looking like he's going to be a big part of this offense. And so I need to know from you, like, how high can this really go for Jaylen Warren this season? Because I think there could be a world where maybe he's an RB2. No. Am I too crazy?
So here's the thing. Yeah, I did the film session. Yeah, I've been talking about Jaylen Warren. I like him. I think he's going to have a role in the offense. But, like, I didn't want it to get that wild. Like, I'm just saying, like, this is a guy that you need to have rostered. This is a player that don't disrespect him or disregard him, because they're going to utilize him in the offense. But not one point in time did I say he's going to take over the job from Najee Harris. Yes, he has more juice. I think he's more explosive than Najee. But the reality is, what I think doesn't matter. Pittsburgh is still going to trot Najee out there as their RB1. Warren's going to have a role. He's more explosive. He can rip off plays that Najee can't. But Najee can do a couple of things that Jaylen Warren can't either. So absent a Najee Harris injury, I do not project Jaylen Warren to be an RB2. I like him. I think he's one of the best handcuff running backs in the NFL with some standalone value. But I'm not going to jump the shark and say that he's going to usurp Najee Harris, despite what my personal preference is to see him get more opportunity may be. I don't think that is a sound piece of advice to give people right now. Love me some Jaylen Warren, especially like in some spots where you got some deeper starting roster spots, some additional flexes, but I'm not going to project him to be the to finish as an RB2 absent a Najee Harris injury, Jay. I like him. I think he's a very good running back, but I'm not projecting him to usurp Najee Harris. And to your Marvin Mims point, I guess it just really depends on Judy's health, man. And that's been the unfortunate thing with Jerry Jeudy. It feels like his whole career is you see the flashes of Alabama dopeness. You see the route running ability. You see the big play threat. But then you also see him on a cart more times than you want to see him on a cart. And, I've talked to a lot of people that are, fantasy. They're in the fantasy space, and they're doctors, they're physical therapists. And I always ask, is health a skill? We talked about this on this show. And I don't know if some people just have the injury bug or injury prone, but what's unfortunate with Jeudy is it's always something. Every year it's something. It's an ankle, it's a hammy, and hamstrings are tricky. Those things linger. So I don't know, Jay. That's one where I'll just say this. I'm pretty happy about my investment in Cortland Sutton. I'm pretty happy about those Cortland Sutton shares right now. Did you touch on any of the fallers? Who's falling on here? I just want to talk about a couple of falls. So you got Gallup, Hollywood Brown, Damian Harris, Rashad Penny. A lot of Rashad Penny hate out there, Jay. That run versus, I believe it was when they played the Browns, and they said he lacked burst, didn't have any burst. So a lot of skepticism on old Rashad Penny in that Eagles backfield. But Jay, we got some other little quick hitting news pieces. What else is going on out there?
So I was actually surprised to see this one, is that the Patriots traded Pierre Strong to the Browns. Not that it's like super notable, but I definitely expected him to get cut. So hopefully he can get an opportunity on the Browns, assuming they want him. This is probably the biggest piece of news, and maybe we can touch on this later as well. But Ray, Rico Dowdle didn't play at all in preseason week 3. So he's got to be locked in as RB2 right now. You said, it could be Malik Davis, could be Rico Dowdle. It seems like, actually for a while now.
It's not what I said.
Well, you said
Jay.
it a long time ago.
Let's keep it 100. I said it is Malik Davis. I said there's no doubt the RB2 is going to be Malik Davis. And preseason game week 1, he got the opportunity. He was the RB2. I'm winning. I told you it was Malik Davis. And unfortunately, he looked awful. I mean, he was the worst running back out there. He got the opportunity. He got his shot to be the first guy up, and he failed miserably. He was not better than Rico Dowdle, and he was not better than Deuce Vaughn. So I think he's on the roster bubble right now.
Vaughn Do you think he makes it? That was the question I was going to ask you, right? Vaughn didn't play either. So all we saw was Malik Davis and some other depth guys, and I'm like, okay, that's concerning because there's already 3 running backs not playing. They don't need a fourth. Unless they think Deuce.
I don't think he is. I think you talk about fumbling the bag from getting first crack to be the second running back in Dallas to potentially not making the roster. We got a kid from North Dakota State, fullback, kind of Kyle Juszczyk, like he looked good. So I don't know. I don't know if Davis even makes the roster. So if you invested in him early in Underdog, I'm sorry. I mean, he got his opportunity and he just failed. So I just wanted to keep that a buck. I got to keep it real. I did not say he might. I said he is the RB2. Got the shot, failed. Looks like it's Rico and Deuce Vaughn season. So everybody who was concerned about Vaughn and the size, doesn't matter. He's going to get an opportunity to make some plays for Dallas. But really, the story in that, Jay, is wheels up Tony Pollard. That's really what it is. Tony Pollard. They didn't bring in a Leonard Fournette. Ezekiel Elliott did not come back. They didn't bring in a Kareem Hunt. It's going to be the Tony Pollard show. So pretty excited for that. And Jalen Tolbert also did not play. So what a rebound for him, for just from a football perspective, to be dead and gone and forgotten
left
about.
For dead, literally,
left for dead, literally. And now sitting out the third preseason game. And Jerry Jones has already said he's locked up that fourth receiver spot. Brandon Cooks is on a one-year deal. Gallup's probably going to be there next year, but we'll see if Jalen Tolbert can take another step forward this season.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I was excited to see Tolbert. It looked great in the last preseason game, so happy to see him sit. Ray, we also have your boy, Sean Tucker, splitting first-team reps with Rachaad White, the hammer.
That's
and
not
remember,
my boy.
Ray, a long time ago, we talked about Sean Tucker could be a dark horse for carries in Tampa, and how the running back coach really liked him, compared him to Nick Chubb, and the way he could fit into this rushing scheme. Excited to see that for Sean Tucker, because like Justin Ross, who've been hyping up all offseason, another guy with some health concerns, but a ton of talent coming out of college. Treylon Burks, unsure if he'll be ready for week 1. No real surprise there. Terry McLaurin is dealing with turf toe. Uncertain for the regular season opener, but maybe he's going to be ready. I mean, we might know a thing or two about Terry, but I think he's going to be ready, man. And I think with Sam Howell, that's where we're excited for this offense. Eric Bieniemy, Sam Howell looking good, Terry, all these guys, man. Dotson poised for a breakout year. I hope Terry can be back, because I think this offense could be really, really good. Ray, your Cardinals traded.
You think so?
I think the offense can be good.
Right. Sam Howell looked all right in preseason.
Does it translate to wins, right? Which I don't think it does. I don't think it translates to wins, but I think for fantasy, they can put up points. Like before last year, they were run, maybe pass. Taylor Heineke throws an interception, fumbles, whatever. This year, hopefully, more ball control, more passing down the field, more opening up the offense with Bieniemy, more creative styles of the offense. I think there's a lot that could come for Washington this season. Your Cardinals traded away their offensive lineman Josh Jones to the Texans, and Isaiah Simmons, their former top 10 pick, to the Giants for a 2024 7th rounder. I mean, can we just find the Cardinals for tanking at this point? Because that's exactly what they're doing.
Cardinals are 100% collapsing for Caleb. They are collapsing for Caleb, but at least they're acquiring draft picks, man. Speaking of draft picks, Jay, did you see the Jerry Jones Inside the War Room video when they were deciding between Mozzie Smith, and the Kansas City Chiefs called them, offered him a 3rd-round pick to move back 5 spots, and they declined it to take Mozzie Smith?
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Jerry Jones said he would have been sick had he missed a player that he probably could have gotten in the 2nd round. We could have banked a 3rd-rounder, but tis the Cowboys. Finish up. You have one more piece of news, right?
The last one was Josh Palmer splitting first-team reps at wide receiver. You know, everyone had Quentin Johnston in there as the wide receiver 3, but it is important to remember Josh Palmer was a big part of this offense, and I think it was Austin Eckler who talked about the absence of Palmer in this offense was a big missing piece for them last season, and I think he's going to be a big piece going forward as well in this new Kellen Moore-style offense that should be more down the field, and all we hear the reports is Keenan Allen is being hyper-targeted, Josh Palmer's being involved, Quentin Johnston being involved down the field, and obviously Mike Williams will be heavily involved as well. But Ray, there was a big story that dropped over the weekend. So how about you let the people know what happened out of Dallas?
You tell me. What happened? I don't know anything. What happened?
Well, I think finally, Ray, we can put the saga to bed. Trey Lance versus Brock Purdy. Trey Lance was deemed the quarterback 3 in San Francisco over the weekend, and bam! A team out of Texas had to go and snatch him up. No, it isn't his former coach DeMeco Ryans. It is your Dallas Cowboys for a 4th-round pick at that. I was kind of surprised. They said it'd be later compensation. I expected a 5th or a 6th, but to get a 4th for Trey Lance, who literally has done nothing in the NFL, and while it's not his fault per se, decent draft capital for Dallas to give up to go and get Trey Lance. And I'm curious your thoughts on this whole situation and what it may mean for Dak Prescott. Owed $60 million next year against the cap, but after that, Ray, he could be out. So what does that mean for Dallas, and what does that mean for Trey Lance?
Well, I put out a video talking about this after it happened, about an hour after it happened. Go check it out if you want like my full thoughts. I go through the whole situation. What's this mean? Well, it means your Brock Purdy shares have exponentially increased in value. I know you were a big proponent of holding on to him. You, like me, we believed that he was going to be the starting quarterback. I don't think either of us really wavered on that stance. the entire time, and neither of us have said that Brock Purdy's the great quarterback, but it's what San Francisco wants to do. So immediate reaction is, if you've got Brock, my question to you, Jay, is what are you selling him for today? You know, we talked about this inside of our group, or inside of our Discord, patreon.com/allgas, that you trade him for first. Most people were like, oh, trade him for a random first. I don't think today's price is yesterday's price. I would not be selling my starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, who you look at EPA per drop back. It doesn't matter who they have at quarterback over the last 5 years. They're inside the top 15, literally. Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, EPA per drop back. Those quarterbacks in that system are efficient. You could say it's lucky. You could say it's a system. You could say whatever you want, but you've got the weapons. You know who the starter is. Jay, I'm asking you, 2 firsts, is that your asking price at minimum for a player for the starting quarterback of the 49ers? And then from Trey Lance's side, I do believe that this was a leverage move by the Dallas Cowboys. They can talk all that shit they want to about this has nothing to do with leverage against Dak. They needed something because they're going to be hamstrung by him again, and there's going to be a decision to be made. Are you going to pay him $50 million a year at 32, 33 years old, whatever Dak's going to be? Or can you potentially try to, and what's so ironic about this, and I said this on that video, Jay, is if I'm Dallas, I don't need Trey Lance to be the savior number 3 overall pick. You know who I need him to be? You know who I need him to learn and become? All I need him to be is Brock Purdy. Just run the offense. If he can just do that, he's 23 years old. If he can just run the offense, that is a little carrot that you dangle right in front of Dak Prescott and say, you know, it's just dangling right there. You just dangle that thing right in front of Dak. But if you're not going to take whatever we give you or whatever that extension may be, you don't like it, we got a young cat chilling right behind you. Now, is he going to be good enough to make it happen? I don't know. Jordan Reed, my boy from ESPN, said he needs live game reps. That ain't happening. He ain't getting no live game reps. Now, I do believe Jerry Jones is a shrewd enough operator that week 1, we could see Lance out there. Would it shock you if they throw him out there to run a QB power? I'm not talking about pass the ball, but they put him out there. The crowd is going crazy, and they just run him QB power. Dak's lined up at receiver, fake stance, and they just run a QB power. Well, it would not shock me, but he ain't throwing no damn passes this year. I'll tell you that right now. So my thoughts on the deal is worth a shot. Like, just take him, see if you can develop him. It's a 4th-round pick. Cowboys blast and waste 2nd-round picks every single season. Just go for it. I'm fine with the cost of acquisition. And, Jay, there are reports that the Bills were in on him. And there were the Ravens. Was it Philadelphia? I know the Bills and the Ravens for sure made offers to acquire him. So, seems like his services were kind of sought after by a few teams. So, which also goes back to the bullshit reports that nobody wanted to trade for him. Remember, that was the rumor?
Yeah.
Nobody wanted him. Clearly, young kid, talented, skills. Somebody will take a chance and try to develop him. If you're telling me Baker Mayfield can get all these chances and Marcus Mariota and Ryan Tannehill and Mitchell Trubisky, Trey Lance should get a shot at some point. We'll see. I'll tell you what I'm excited for is him in preseason next year for Dallas, just to see what he looks like. Jay, what were your thoughts and takeaways on it?
I thought it was really interesting because it wasn't a situation that I necessarily expected, right? I think a lot of people probably felt that way when the news broke. But to your point, it is a place where, you know, Jerry kind of has a lot of influence, obviously, over the roster. And I could see him maybe pushing for this a little bit. Obviously, he's seen the talent of Trey Lance in college, and he can look at the tape. And he can see very clearly where he's even better than Dak Prescott in some areas. And with his coaching and development, and maybe they bring in some guys to help coach Trey up on the side, on the practice field, and he could become, you know, kind of what we all expected him to be. I think it's just interesting to see where he may end up from here because, like you said, his career isn't over, and he's like one of the youngest quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm pretty sure he's younger than some of the rookies that came in this year. I believe there's only 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now that are younger than Trey Lance. He's been in the NFL for over almost 3 seasons. So you look at it from that perspective, dude has a lot of potential opportunity ahead of him. And I would not be shocked if Dallas said, you know what, Dak, I'm not paying you $50 million a year because we can build our entire roster. We can sign all our guys, our whole defense.
What's the highest average quarterback salary right now? It's like 47?
No, it's more than that. It's like 52 and a half or 53 and a half because it's over. Well, Lamar is making over 50, and then the most recent contract was Justin Herbert, and then potentially even Joe Burrow past that as well, right?
So there's a chance that let's just say Joe Burrow gets 55 a year. They make him the highest paid. Dak's gonna want that plus. Ain't no way, man. No way.
There's no and then that's the crazy thing. So like I was reading the article in The Athletic today about quarterback salaries and how they're just ballooning. But if you can get a Trey Lance at, $1 million, $2 million, those savings across the board on your roster, you could sign Tony Pollard pretty easily if you're not paying Dak Prescott all this money down the line. Like there's a lot of flexibility and things that you could do. So like it's almost, Ray, and here with me, it's almost like they're trying to build the Niners slowly. They're saying, you know what, we're not going to pay this quarterback. We're going to pay Trey Lance, a little bit cheaper option, have the strong defense, have a lot of playmakers on offense. They just need to kind of add to that. But I think it's interesting to see this play out. I'm excited for Lance. I don't know what I would do in Dynasty. But yeah, you mentioned the question about Brock Purdy. I think 2 firsts as an asking price is pretty bold for Brock Purdy. But I think, if you wanted to trade him for a first and second, I couldn't blame you. But I probably still wouldn't. I'd probably still hold on to Brock Purdy because I think he's going to be the starter.
There's no think. Right? He is the starter. There's no thinking about it. He is the starter. He's been the starter. You never know. He's been the starter. He's locked in.
I do know. Things can change.
Things can always change. The starter. No. So absent an injury, he's the starting damn quarterback.
So you're talking about absent of injury in the Niners quarterback room? That they get injured every season? That's all I'm saying.
That's a different conversation.
If you want to sell and you think the price is right, at first and second, okay. But I'm holding. I want to see what happens.
I'm not giving you the injury discount. Screw that. I'm not shaving off my price because he could be injured. And I think my final point to this, I do think that when I think this was a very smart move because you know who they're going to have to pay here? They're going to have to pay
Micah,
CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons,
and
Tyler Smith. They just paid Diggs. So this is, and when Micah's contract comes up, he's probably going to get the highest defensive contract ever in NFL history. CeeDee Lamb is going to get paid probably at the time. He will be the highest paid wide receiver. They're going to give him that deal. So they've got to start thinking about how do we save money? They can't afford Micah and CeeDee and Tyler Smith and $60 million on the books for Dak. So I just think this was a smart move by the Dallas Cowboys. And my biggest takeaway to the fantasy football community, man, I don't know, Jay, I was on the Spaces with Des Bryant on Friday.
Late.
Des and we were up late and we were talking about this. And there were some interesting things that he said on that Spaces. And the biggest one that I just want to throw out there, there's a big rumor, right, that these quarterbacks are good mentors. They go and they learn and they're mentored and all this other stuff. Dez flat out said, Romo ain't do no damn mentoring to Dak Prescott. He said he didn't even go to practice some days. He was like, I'm just being real. He said it was awkward in the locker room. Everybody knew it was awkward. And he was just like, we all knew it was business. And he's like, that's my boy, but we saw this. And this is what I continue to preach to the fantasy community, dude. Like, football is, the real NFL is much different than how we think or hope about players for fantasy. I think what got so many people in trouble with Lance is their hope and their own personal belief that he's good, which is fine. You can have that type of conviction. I encourage you to have that conviction, but don't ignore obvious and glaring signs that the team is telling you. And the team told us from the end of the 49ers season up to the point that Trey got traded, they told us repeatedly that Brock Purdy is the starter. Yet so many people, because of their bias, wanted to close their eyes, cover their ears, not hear it, not see it, and it doesn't go away. Just because you close your eyes or you hope or you believe he's good, that doesn't mean it's going to come to fruition. So you got to pay attention to the clear and obvious red flags when these things pop up. So I'm excited for him to be in Dallas as a Cowboys fan. I'm ready to see what he can do. Not in a starter capacity because I don't believe he's going to do that anytime soon. And I'm just going to be real. He's not the number 2. He's not. If something happened to Dak tomorrow, Cooper Rush is a starting quarterback. Period. Like, there's no Trey Lance. It's going to be Cooper Rush. He doesn't know anything. He just got there. So excited that he's there. Excited it's over with. The saga's done. Brock Purdy's the starter. And then now the pressure shifts to him. The pressure shifts to Brock Purdy. Now, another player who was number 1 on our fades list, Jay, we were just like, no part. I'm good. Got a deal. Josh Jacobs is back, and the Raiders are smart. You finally give the reigning NFL rushing champ money. I mean, he's 25 years old and he's good. I didn't understand why they would do him dirty like that anyway. I tweeted Josh Jacobs, and I was like, thank God they didn't waste you in the preseason this year, bro. and just kind of just talking some shit. But Jay, Josh Jacobs is back. The Raiders gave him $12 million. He tweeted out, "I'm back." He missed the preseason, so they didn't play him in game 1. How we feeling about Jacobs now that he's back? All the running backs are essentially back outside of Jonathan Taylor. We'll get to him in a minute, but Saquon Barkley complaining. He's back. Austin Eckler, we're not getting paid enough. He's been there. Josh Jacobs, back. All these guys that were disgruntled, they're all back in. So as we progress into this season, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about these week 17 bets with some of these backs now? My take on it is you can't control that, man. You just got to draft the players and just let the chips fall where they may. If you start trying to account for it, especially with them being back on the field, you can get caught in a dangerous little web, right? So Jacobs is back. How do you think this impacts him? Are you excited to draft him in underdog drafts? Are you excited to draft him for redraft? How are you feeling about him in Dynasty? Do you want to acquire? Do you want to sell? Just talk to me about Jacobs and how you feel about him today, knowing that he's back.
So first of all, I think the biggest thing for me is I think he's going to be ready for week 1, which I think is important, right? Because people are like, oh, he might be in Cabo, Mexico, wherever the hell he is. Is he actually going to be ready for week 1? He's a professional running back, man. And I think of all the positions in the NFL, running back is probably the easiest one to just kind of step in and dominate right away. And we know that Josh Jacobs can do that in this system. He's got 2 weeks. He'll be ready, and he'll be good to go. So I think from week 1, we should expect full go on Jacobs. And honestly, in redraft, I would be drafting him pretty much as high as his ADP would be, and maybe even higher than that, because they may run him into the ground again. We don't know how they're going to use him. You talk about week 17, we were only worried because he would have been on the franchise tag if he did sign, and there's no incentive for him to play beyond 6 games because his contract is guaranteed. We saw with Saquon's contract that he has to play, and I believe in the case of Saquon's, they have to make the playoffs for him to make the majority of his money, or at least a large portion of his bonuses, along with the reception bonuses and some rushing yard bonuses. We don't know what the stipulations of Jacobs' contract are. We know that it is a $12 million deal, similar to what we saw from the other people. Maybe some people in the chat have seen it. I haven't seen the contract itself. I would imagine it's not fully guaranteed, but I imagine it's largely guaranteed, similar to what we saw with some bonuses. So he probably has to play out the whole season to hit those. And at that point, I'm fine having him in redraft wherever the value is. The question is in Dynasty, do you hold on to him if he can get you back a first-round pick, or maybe even a first-round pick plus? Because I think you got to move him at that point, but I'd be willing to buy him if someone would sell him for like a second plus a player, and you want to go for it for 1 season, because I think he will be full systems go. McDaniels knows what he can do. He was a bell cow last season. It is rare that we see players repeat performances. Derrick Henry's kind of the closest option from a points per game perspective, but he did get hurt after he had a monster season. And so now you look at Jacobs trying to do the same thing. I think he will be very good. RB1, I'd lock him in, probably top 6. I think the problem, Ray, is it pretty much nukes any chance of Zamir White having any value this season. I think they run Josh Jacobs into the dirt like they did last year.
Yeah,
he'll be phenomenal for fantasy, whether you have him in redraft or you want to buy him for a second plus in Dynasty and just go for it. I'm fine with it. But outside of that, I'm not sure you do much else with Jacobs. But I think as far as people's concerns, they shouldn't be. And especially you talk about the playoffs, week 17 late in the season, I think he'll be back and I think he'll be good to go. And there's no reason today to speculate otherwise. Do you feel any differently about Jacobs?
Well, I think Jacobs is incredibly talented. And I thought they kind of screwed him over last year. I thought it was very disrespectful to play him like that in the Hall of Fame game. They ran him into the ground. He led the league in rushing. And I get it's a business. I understand it's a business, but you would think that they would try to treat their 24-year-old league-leading rusher a little bit better than that. So I know Jacobs was happy he got his bag, and he's going to play. He's going to play well, and then probably try to get paid and get up out of there. Dynasty, I don't know. If I can get a first for any running back right now, especially not named Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs or Breece Hall, it's almost like it feels like it's about as good as you can get, right? First rounder, maybe you can get a player back. Can I get a first and Kendre Miller? Can I get a first and some other running back, younger running back with some talent and some upside? I would explore all options for that if I had Josh Jacobs from Dynasty. I was going to play a little game of would you rather with the running backs with you, Jay, if you don't mind, if they would pop up. Keep Trey cut sometimes, man. You click on the running backs, don't shit pop up. So we'll wait until that happens. Here we go. All right. We got Josh Jacobs currently valued as the RB9 in Dynasty. He's 25 years old, RB9. Let me just ask you this. Would you rather Josh Jacobs or Nick Chubb?
Nick Chubb.
Okay. Josh Jacobs or Tony Pollard? Dynasty.
That's so tough. In
Well, they're
Dynasty,
back to
I think
back.
it's
They're
still
back to
Tony
back.
Pollard.
So, okay, all right. They're back to back, and Pollard's ahead. I mean, that's where he's at right now. He's valued as RB9. So I think he's in a good spot. You've got Austin Eckler, Travis Etienne, Kenneth Walker, and Ramondre Stevenson right behind Josh Jacobs. I think the issue with Jacobs is, and Scott and I talked about this on Destination Chill, he's one injury away from max volatility. If something happened to him this year, I don't care if it's an ankle sprain. I don't know why people just dislike Josh Jacobs. Maybe, I don't know why people just don't really like Josh Jacobs. It's not even that the fact that he's bad. Everyone appreciates how good he was last year, but nobody really just like, I want Josh Jacobs. He has an ankle sprain. You're going to see his value just tank. So he's one of those running back assets where if I could get out for a first plus, I'm doing that. It has nothing to do with the skill set. It's just the reaction to the dynasty market on how we are treating running backs today. Yeah, I mean, there are leagues where I couldn't even get a damn first-round pick for Saquon Barkley because everybody's like, he's always injured, and I don't know. So I just think it's more of a reflection on the market inside of the dynasty community with running backs outside of something that directly is something that Josh Jacobs is or is not doing.
Yeah, and I think, you brought up the example of Nick Chubb and Tony Pollard. And while, yes, this is a year-to-year game, I do view them as kind of like year-plus type of assets, right? We expect Tony Pollard to play for Dallas and be good next season. I think we expect the same thing of Nick Chubb in the Browns system next year. And especially in the case of Nick Chubb, could be in for a massive season. We talk about Josh Jacobs going nuclear last year and blowing up and being the RB1 in fantasy. That could be Nick Chubb this year. So you could be, buying at a slightly depressed value relative to peak coming next offseason. But yeah, like you mentioned, the fantasy community has never liked Jacobs. He's always been a iffy back who's always hurt, always dealing with injuries. Even last year,
even though
with
he
a lot of
always
injuries,
plays, even though it's kind of like a fake narrative because he's always available, but he's always on the injury report. That's what it should. He is always on the injury report, but he plays. He doesn't practice, but he plays. But the community just doesn't like him, Jay. So I'm happy he's back. He's a fantastic running back. He's very young. He's extremely talented. And I think a couple of years from now, we'll look back and be like, damn, that was a nice 3 to 4 year stretch we got from Josh Jacobs, and the people who had him really benefited it. And you'll look back and be like, probably should have had me some Jacobs at cost. You're going to look back and be like, he was a really, really, what he kind of feels like. And I'm not saying career, and you have no clue who this player is because you weren't of adult age to watch him. But just, it feels like when you think about the great running backs in NFL history, who do you think about? LT, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, Jim Brown, Adrian Peterson. Nobody throws Curtis Martin's name in the mix. Nobody. No one talks about Curtis Martin, right? No. Then you go back and look at Curtis Martin and look at what he did in his career, and you're like, dude, how is this guy not mentioned as a top 5 running back of all time? I'm not saying historic for Josh Jacobs, but he feels like this generation's version of Curtis Martin, just good at everything, not exceptionally great at any one thing, doesn't get the hype, doesn't get the fanfare, but is just a rock-solid producer every single year. So there it is, Josh Jacobs, Curtis Martin of our generation, Jay. All right.
He's a talented running back, right? He's a talented running back. But yeah, no respect from Jacobs. Never gotten any respect. Even out of college when he was at Alabama, never any respect. It's crazy.
Jonathan Taylor gets a lot of respect, Jay, and Jim Irsay has given him permission to seek a trade. Saw a bunch of reports, saw a bunch of rumors that Tuesday is like the day. Tuesday is the deadline. Cut down day for Tuesday. The Miami Dolphins reportedly have an offer on the table that the Indianapolis Colts have to either make a decision on. Are they going to accept it, decline it? What are they doing? But JT, full permission to seek a trade out of Indianapolis. Now, there's a lot of fallout from this if this, in fact, comes to fruition, Jay. But immediate thoughts. Jonathan Taylor, we wake up tomorrow or later this afternoon, Schefter tweets it out, boom, Taylor traded to Miami Dolphins for whatever compensation. What are you doing with JT? Right now, Jonathan Taylor is valued as the RB. Where is he at? The RB6.
How low is he?
RB6. Okay. He's behind Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, and, of course, Bijan Robinson. He goes to the Miami Dolphins. What happens with Jonathan Taylor? He's 24 and a half years old, plays the entire – he's only 24 years old, Jay. 24 years old for JT. Young boy NBA. What are you doing with JT? He gets traded to the Miami Dolphins. How are we feeling about him?
I would be pretty excited, right? I think, you talk about best case scenario for JT. That's probably one of them. I think the better question, Ray, and we can obviously talk about JT, but I think that would maybe make the Dolphins as front runners in the AFC East if they
Wow.
did get Jonathan
You think
Taylor.
so?
The
You think that would
problem
put them
with
over
that
the
team
top?
is the defense, right? The defense was supposed to be good, and now it's not looking like it's going to be very good. The pass rush will be good. The secondary is still going to be awful, so we'll see what happens with that. But you talk about Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Jonathan Taylor. We already saw what that scheme could do. Yes, Tua has to be healthy.
You still got those guys there.
Well, at that point, A-Chain is dead. A-Chain has no role, right?
Well,
but
there are other people.
lots
He'll
of
have
great players.
other sporadic role in weird places, right? I'm just saying the speed that team would have offensively.
Insanity.
Even
I
though
think
they
for
don't have an
JT,
offensive
you're
line.
probably. I think he probably bumps up to RB3, RB4 in Dynasty.
agree.
He definitely would get a bump up. I think the question though is that deserved, and can he actually get an extension?
Deserved?
Because okay, JT is a phenomenal running back, and he'd be great in Miami.
Do we see how fickle we are with would he deserve it? Are you kidding me?
Because he gets traded, that doesn't mean he's getting paid. Just because he gets traded does not mean he's getting paid.
No,
and so if you go,
would he deserve being bumped up and propelled to the RB3 in Dynasty? And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Because what really changed outside of, yes, the ceiling is much higher for JT, but he can still see a ton of volume in Indy. He can still have a great season.
He's in a better offense. He will not face stack boxes. The offensive line is not very good, but the Indianapolis Colts O-line doesn't look very good either. But yeah, he would deserve it. He's 24 years old. If he gets traded,
but he's still RB6. Is he still that much better than Breece Hall, who's in a great offense?
He's RB6 now because people are afraid that he's not going to play. It has nothing to do with his talent. I think he gets traded to Miami. It doesn't. If you knew today that JT was playing football, you're taking Jahmyr Gibbs over him right now.
No, I probably wouldn't do that. But I understand the uncertainty of not knowing where he's playing beyond this season. Even if he is in Miami. Okay, you go trade your JT.
Would you think he's going to be out of the NFL? He's just going to be gone?
No, but I don't know where he's going to play. There's a reason why these guys. You want Jahmyr Gibbs because you like him in Detroit. He was a top 12 draft pick, and he's going to be there for the next 5 years. You like Bijan Robinson because he's in a run-first offense that's going to put up more and more points and get better for the next 5 years. We don't know where these guys are going to play. Saquon Barkley, yeah, he's on the Giants now. Tony Pollard, yeah, he's on the Cowboys now. Josh Jacobs, he's on the Raiders now. We don't know where JT's going to be in the next 2-3 years. So what if he's not in a system that's as good versus relative to these other guys? I think that's the problem is like, are you really buying JT? Like you're saying, well, you wouldn't draft Jahmyr Gibbs over JT, but would you trade your Jahmyr Gibbs to go and get JT?
Man, I'm not doing that regardless because I just wouldn't do like they're the same. Point is, I think he would be absolutely deserving of being valued as a top 3 running back in Dynasty, if not a little bit higher. That move to that offense where the pressure's off of him, he will not face those stacked boxes because you've got too much other stuff on the outside, would make for not only an efficient offense, it'd be incredibly fast, and I think it would be good for Tua. You know, you're talking about who that would directly benefit, and I think that would be Tua Tagovailoa. And Jay, he's been one of the players that I've just been out on. I've been staying away from because I'm just fearful. The conversations about him thinking about retiring, the concussions, the falling, he's put on weight. I feel a little bit better about him a little bit. I still don't believe I have any shares of Tua in Dynasty, although I have a nice amount of exposure on him on Underdog Fantasy. But I think this would be very good for JT. It'd be good for Tyreek Hill. Somebody would get hit. I don't know if it would be Waddle that's taking the ding. Somebody I feel would have to be even more efficient because some of those opportunities are going to go to JT. You trade for Jonathan Taylor, he's getting 20 plus a game. It's just happening, whether that's rush attempts or passes. So again, I think this would be good for Tua. I think it'd be good for Miami and it'd be fun. AFC East is looking like a damn battle right now. Now, the other side of this coin are the Indianapolis Colts, Jay. And we got to see Anthony Richardson, and I'm going to talk about him on the rookie report that will drop tomorrow. We got to see him play a full half of football this past Sunday versus, I believe it was the Philadelphia Eagles, right? He did the Fly, Eagles, Fly. Did you get a chance to watch any Anthony Richardson and potentially the Colts RB1, Evan Hull, if Jonathan Taylor gets traded?
Yeah, I did watch that game, and I think the biggest problem is that I think I saw what I kind of expected to see from Rich in a regular season, right? A lot of ups, a lot of downs, and just a wide range of outcomes from play to play. I think the biggest thing with him, when you comp him to a Justin Fields, is his sack avoidance is at probably the top of the NFL, if not just in the top 5. Like, you look at all the metrics for him with sack avoidance and his ability to stay away from negative plays outside of obviously interceptions, which probably will come for him in the NFL. Is that is a key part of his game that you need to see translate into the regular season. And outside of that, I think it's going to be a learning experience for him. I haven't watched as intently with Evan Hall because I was more so looking to see how ALOT operated in the offense. He looks good. And you tweeted out that pass pro rep. Happy to see that after we saw him whiff like crazy at the Senior Bowl at times. So great for Evan Hall to be developing in that scheme for sure. But it's going to be a rough year for the Colts. If they do trade JT, and not to say that's not going to be rough anyways, but it will be pretty rough for ARich. It will be pretty rough for that offense. And then obviously, if you want to touch on Evan Hall here, I'd be curious what you would do with him because he's a guy that we kind of liked. We thought he had a great skill set. He can obviously catch passes out of the backfield. But what is the ceiling and what are the range of outcomes for him in this Colts offense? I think it's like an ARich or bust type scenario. And he has to be good, or the Colts offense and all those players on that team may not be so good this year.
Cody Carpentier, shout out to my boy Cody, man, doing stuff with Roster Watch now, Alex Dunlap and the crew. But he tweeted out, as I think I put it in our Discord, I was like, this dude's about to average like 50 rushing yards a game, like legitimately. And there were a couple of NFL quarterbacks that did some film study on him, and they said they were talking about the fact that when things aren't there and he runs through his progression, what he wasn't doing this preseason was forcing the ball. He would just run it. And they were like, keep the chains moving. That's what he needs to do early. Sort of what Jalen Hurts did his first full season starting with Philadelphia.
Yes.
So a lot of running from Jalen Hurts. If his first couple of reads weren't there, don't force it, run. When I watched this offense, Jay, what I really appreciated about the Indianapolis Colts was their desire to play fast. And that's what Shane Steichen did with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. They were getting to the ball. They were running multiple plays, and they were doing that all the first half. Let's go. Let's go. Keep it going. I think Shane Steichen is going to work wonders with Anthony Richardson. You are going to have the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, some wow plays and some wow plays. I think you're going to get both of those inside of the ARich experience this year, but we probably will see enough flashes from him to be like, okay, this guy's got something brewing, right? There is something there. So I was impressed with him, and I was really impressed with Evan Hall. He looks better than Deion Jackson to me. Again, don't know what Indianapolis is going to do. Don't forget about Zach Moss. I don't know how long he was injured for, but once the veteran gets back, there's another body in that room. Overall, the offense just looks uninspiring. They look slow with Michael Pittman. Alec Pierce doesn't look very good. Josh Downs is dropping passes. And I saw somebody in the chat talk about Jelani Woods, Jay. Reports are Kylan Granson and Alec Ogletree are going to be on the... I'm telling you, man, Woods apparently hasn't played all training camp. So all those Jelani Woods shares you were drafting, probably not going to happen early on. Kylan Granson was on the field. Mo Alley Cox. It's going to be an interesting ride for the Indianapolis Colts. What do you have, Jay?
So I'm looking at the depth chart right now. It's funny you say that because literally their depth chart on our lads is Jelani Woods, Mo Alley Cox, Kylan Granson, Will Mallory, Pharaoh Brown, and then Drew Ogletree, Alec Ogletree, the former St. Louis Rams linebacker. Great take there, Ray. Great take. I like that.
Yeah, man.
So not only do they have Drew Ogletree, 6th round pick in 2022, but they also have Ricky Seals-Jones as their tight end 7. There's a throwback name.
There we go. Ricky Seals.
Yeah, lots of options. But yeah, Jelani Woods,
not the linebacker.
Cox.
Not the linebacker.
When you said that, I was like...
Not the linebacker from the St. Louis Cardinals. No, you know... Damn it, Ogletree. There ain't many of them. It's Ogletree. You know who it is. All right, Jay. You got some rookie quarterback talk on here. What do we got?
Dude, Ray, I talked about this last week with CJ Stroud, how I finally saw what I saw in college on the NFL field. And one of the only games I actually watched like very intently was watching Bryce Young because I wanted to see something from Bryce Young. And I saw everything I needed to see, Ray. The ball placement, time in the pocket. Thank God.
Jay, real quick.
What?
I got a text. No, it's not breaking news, but got a text that Woods tore his hamstring. Tore it.
Oh.
So not good.
He's not playing for a reason then. That's not
good. So yes, you got to watch Bryce Young.
Yes, very excited to see Bryce Young. Yes, it was against second stringers, third stringers. Threw his first touchdown to Adam Thielen on a great out route. He finally had time in the pocket, but more importantly, Ray, we talked about this incessantly with Bryce Young. It's his ability to move in the pocket and avoid defenders despite his size. We talk about ARich, how he's so good at that. Bryce is good at that too, and we saw that play out so much in this Lions game because there was a ton of pressure, but he avoided it very well. He stayed composed in the pocket. We saw him make his reads, and when he couldn't do anything, he ran the football, which I talked to you about, and why I think we may see him run a little bit in the NFL, simply because the O-line is so bad that when things break down, he'll be forced to run and make plays that way. And so for me, I saw enough to believe that Bryce Young can do it. Will he do it? I don't know, but I thought he took a massive step forward in what he showed on the field, and I think we will see similar things from him throughout the regular season. Did you see anything different?
It's hard. There aren't really good football terms to kind of explain it. He's special in the pocket. He's got this sixth sense. He's very good when he's not. Ike Ekwonu's got to play better. He's been pretty bad on the left side. He's been pretty awful so far. But Bryce Young looked good, accurate, timing. He's going to be okay. I really believe that Bryce Young is going to be okay, man. So it's one of those things, Jay, where, I'm excited. I was excited to see the connection with Adam Thielen. I was excited to see him move around. And yes, albeit against second and third strings, you just want to see these quarterbacks throw the ball, play with a little bit of confidence. And Bryce Young, he just strikes me as one of the guys that other receivers, once they see, man, this guy's the guy that can get me the ball. He's only a tactical scrambler. He's not going to run for 1,000 yards. I want to play with that guy. And Carolina's got crazy cap space next year to buy some players to come into that system. I think it'll be okay. Again, all these rookie quarterbacks are going to struggle. They're going to have their ups and their downs. But Bryce Young is one that I'm willing to bank on. So I was impressed with his performance. And then C.J. Stroud played against the Saints last night, threw a touchdown pass, did not play much at all. Davis Mills came in the game quite early. But again, C.J. Stroud already named the starting quarterback for the Houston Texans. They went ahead and got that out of the way. So we're looking at this class. ALOT starting day one, Bryce starting day one, C.J. Stroud starting day one. Jay, put your flag on the table right now. Of those three quarterbacks, give me which one is going to boom, which one is going to be okay, and which one is going to bust.
Is this for fantasy or just for real life NFL? I think the answers are slightly different.
Fantasy. And maybe none of them bust. And if you don't think any of them bust, then say it. Like, what do you... Just those three.
I think based off dynasty expectations, I would project that all three of them bust. If I had to project one to be okay, I would probably bet it to be C.J. Stroud because I think the offensive line is better than it is in Carolina.
I think it's a better offensive line as well.
And you look at what's happening in Indy right now, and if they trade Jonathan Taylor, that team is going to be a problem, right? And so ALOT he does have weapons, and we like some of the players that are there, but that offensive line isn't great either. If they have no rushing game, they can just get after ALOT. You have to do a lot himself. So for fantasy, it could be tough to kind of project, but I think, if I was projecting the safest player this season, it's probably C.J. Stroud, especially with some of the throws we see him making in preseason. Like, you talk about it all the time, ball placement specialist, literally drops it in the bucket to Nico Collins, dude drops it down the sideline. Like, it's going to happen, but at least you see the encouraging signs of the quarterback making plays. I think Bryce will make his own plays, but the offensive line will be an issue. But yeah, I would probably say in order, CJ, then ALOT, then Bryce. But I think it could be a toss-up between Bryce and ALOT depending on what happens, because ALOT may end up being last and be the biggest bust of all of them relative to expectations. I think that's more what I'm saying than the actual fantasy point output. And CJ probably the safest because I'd imagine he's drafted as the third quarterback of the three, maybe the second, but him and Bryce are probably pretty close in ADP, and I would probably bet CJ would be the best to return on his investment. But how do you feel about those guys? I think that's kind of how I see it. It's probably CJ, then ALOT, then Bryce third in terms of like upside and bust ranking.
So you're talking about CJ Stroud over ALOT. You're talking fantasy value. That's your take.
CJ's much lower, right? So you say bust potential. I think that CJ has a bigger risk reward window, and he's obviously drafted as like a top 15 quarterback. ALOT is, and what's CJ? He's in the 24th, 25th this year. So I think they're all going to lose value, though. I think they're all going to lose value. That's the problem.
Yeah, CJ Stroud is QB 13 in Dynasty, so he's ahead of Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, and Daniel Jones. So
I don't think he's going to return that value, right?
Like, I don't think any of them are going to return their value. ALOT is already at QB 9, Bryce is QB 10, Stroud is QB 13. I don't think any of them bust, but I do think that it's going to be pretty tough to live up to expectations. Even Anthony Richardson, love him to death. But you look at the guys that are ahead of him: Fields, Lamar, Lawrence, Herbert, Burrow, Hurts, Allen, Mahomes. Who's he leapfrogging?
None of them.
Maybe Fields if Fields struggles. If Lamar gets injured, maybe people are like, I just don't want to deal with that anymore. But like best case scenario, like his movement up after this season, I think, is 2 spots. Best case scenario. I don't think he's leapfrogging T-Law, Herbert, Burrow, Hurts. I don't think that's happening. So I think the real answer is they're probably all ahead of where they should be. You know, if I told you right now, Jay, right now, today, for your dynasty roster, what they're going to score this year, next year, I'm not talking about 10 years from now, 5 years from now, this year, next season, let's go, would you rather? Daniel Jones or any of the rookie quarterbacks this season?
Daniel
next season.
Jones.
Tua.
Daniel Jones.
Tua or any of the rookie quarterbacks.
Tua.
Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray.
I'd probably take ALOT over Kyler, but I think the other two, I'd be fine taking Kyler.
Dak Prescott, any of the rookie quarterbacks this year, next year.
I'm fine with Dak, I think, over those guys.
Kenny Pickett.
Close, though.
Kenny Pickett.
Pickett is the
Let's
answer.
go Pickett. Pickett over. Okay, Pickett Stroud.
I don't know how you take. I would take Pickett over all three, I think.
You would take Pickett over Anthony Richardson.
I think you could make the conversation. I think today the conversation is crazy, but I think at the end of the season, the conversation may be a little bit closer than we're willing to admit. And that's more so what I'm saying. Today, it may seem crazy, but if Kenny Pickett puts up a 30-touchdown season, which I don't expect, I don't think we'd be shocked. We'd be surprised, but he's looked so good.
The chat
5 for 5
Pickett.
in touchdown rates this preseason. It's very difficult to look at what Kenny Pickett has done and say he couldn't be pretty good this year versus ALOT, who we've just talked about, may not have the best year. So those two guys could be a lot closer to ADP. And if you want to take him today, assuming he's going to go up in value, which I'd be willing to bet that Pickett's going to go up in value, I think you're fine taking him over those guys.
All right. Got a couple of more. Jordan Love, rookie quarterbacks, or Jordan Love, who's looked incredible this preseason. But Jordan Love, rookie quarterbacks.
Am I crazy for not being sold on Jordan Love? I love what I've seen. No pun intended. I do love what I've seen. I think he's been great, but I'm not sold on Jordan Love the way I think I'm sold on Kenny Pickett. Not because I love Kenny Pickett.
I just think so. You are sold on Kenny Pickett. You're in.
If I was betting on these guys, yeah, I'm pretty in on Kenny Pickett. I think the offense is great. The weapons are great. I think the weapons for Jordan Love are kind of still questionable. I think he's struggled at times to get the ball to Christian Watson, which I think caps the offensive ceiling a little bit. He's been great getting the ball to Dobbs. You get the ball to Musgrave. He's been checking down like crazy and doing great there, not taking sacks, making plays. But that big play ability to stretch the field, we haven't seen so much, and they've struggled at times to connect on that in the preseason.
I've been saying it, Joe.
I think he will be good. I think he'll be good, but I don't know if I take him over the rookies.
All right. Thank you. Brock Purdy or the rookie quarterbacks?
I can't take Brock Purdy. I would take Brock Purdy over Bryce and Stroud. I don't think I could take him over ALOT just because of ALOT's ceiling.
Interesting rankings, man. It's interesting. Jared Goff, QB 20, Brock Purdy, QB 19. Deshaun Watson. Would you take Deshaun Watson or the rookie quarterbacks? But he's behind those. He's behind Bryson. I'm just telling you what the market is.
Watson looks like trash right now. He looks so bad. Like, so bad. And everyone,
he looked good
he
looked good the last preseason game. He looked fine.
He looks okay.
No, he looked like
Watson.
Watson.
All right, man.
You didn't watch the game. He looked like Deshaun Watson.
I watched the game, and he looked fine.
Didn't watch it.
But again, we've been touting him for like 3 years as a top 8 guy, and he's not returning that. So if he's not returning that value, and he's like Dak Prescott, we're not enthused with that scenario. And everyone is asking you, Ray, they want your thoughts on Justin Fields, because everyone knows how I feel about Justin Fields. And we talked about this over the weekend.
What do you feel about him? He had 52 yards passing on Sunday on his final preseason game.
He looked like Justin Fields. That's exactly.
He
looked like Justin Fields. No, I've been on record saying,
man. What has he done to you?
I've been on record saying that Justin Fields should be fine for fantasy, and I'm fine if you want to take him. He's not exactly the guy I want to be drafting, but if you like him at value, go for it. I think he has the range of outcomes that will be fine for fantasy. But you look at that game, and you're like, okay, he made one pass that wasn't even a good pass, and it was a play made by DJ Moore. Okay, great. Another missed tackle in the open field. DJ Moore goes down the field like 40 yards or whatever the pass was. And it's like, okay, cool. But is he going to do this every game?
You're never going to give him. What kind of throw does he need to make in order for you to say that was a good pass? What does he need to do?
I mean, who looked better in preseason, Justin Fields or Anthony Richardson this weekend?
Fields only
I would
played like
happily argue Anthony Richardson. So Justin Fields didn't play enough to show that he can pass.
All right,
is
man.
that what we're talking about?
All right, it's time.
He didn't look good. That's the problem. He didn't look good.
Okay, well, we know where you're at with this, Justin Fields.
Everyone wanted to say that Justin Fields is back after game 1, but now after game 3, I'm a hater because he came back down to earth.
Kenny Pickett or Justin Fields, who would you rather have? Right now, you got to draft it. I don't care about the chat. For your dynasty roster, which one would you rather have? Who do you feel more secure at? Justin Fields
I'll
or
take Justin Fields.
All right. You ended this on a
I like Kenny Pickett.
I was about to put you off the screen. You were about to get kicked off the screen, Jay. If you would have started that shit this morning, you were getting kicked off the screen.
No. Everyone can hear my Fields takes. It's well documented. I think it'll be fine for fantasy. I'd happily have him on my rosters. I just think he's a little bit overvalued.
There it is. We appreciate all 430 of y'all in the building today. Hit the like button before you get out of here. Hit the like button. You can run the music, Jay. Run the music, man. Is the music going? Run the music. Run the music, man. We appreciate everybody being here. Make sure you tap into all the content on DD. Scott's Pod dropped today. Destination Chill dropped last night. Straight to the Bank this Friday. Overreaction Pod, Off the Line Fantasy Football. Rookie Report. I put a receiver out, receiver Trinity video out. We got more of those coming. We appreciate y'all staying locked in. Rock with us. We got some fun stuff dropping this week. And Jay, anything you want to say to people before we get out of here?
No, man, I'm good. I said it all with Scott's Pod, and I'm excited for Cut Down Day, baby. Let's see who makes the rosters.
Appreciate everybody being in the building. We'll see y'all next week on Wake Up, We Out. Peace. Before y'all close off of the video, I just want to say thank you for checking out the content on Destination Devy. Really appreciate every single view that we get. And the only thing that I ask is that you hit the thumbs up button, like the content, subscribe to the channel, and if you can, comment below for the algorithm. Really helps the channel grow. Now, if you want more exclusive access to me and the entire Destination Devy team, patreon.com/allgas gives you that access. Now, if your money's a little funny, we do have free content for you. Make sure you subscribe to the All Gas newsletter. There's a link in the description of this video below, and subscribe to the Destination Devy podcast radio feed, where we got all types of shows hitting airwaves every single week. Now y'all can get out of here. I appreciate y'all tapping in. It's All Gas all the time. I love y'all. I'm out of this thing. Peace.